We've been through this. You know I can't count our sessions as an hour unless you participate. I want to help, but I can't if you don't want to help yourself. Vanity closed the mirror in which she was fixing her makeup. Her eyes raced up and down Dr. Botgore. Looks like you're the one that needs help. Dr. Botgore thought back to his college days. A round, bushy-haired professor by the name of Mr. Kane stood, leaned, in front of the class, and spouted the wisdom bestowed upon him from generations past. We are doctors, yes? We are creators of life, shapers of the mind, and helpers to those in need, but first and foremost, we're human. And humans are fallible. Never forget that. Dr. Botgore appreciated the sentiment. While he may no longer technically be alive, at least by current medical standards, he's still very much human. Using years of experience in dealing with the most difficult clients, Botgore pulled out the big guns. What's wrong with the way I'm dressed? Like a spider waiting for its prey to spring the trap, Vanity found her moment. Vanity looked to the sky to think for a moment. That lasted as long as it took Botgore to register the action before she locked eyes with a fire that he's never seen before. The shoes work with the khakis, but khakis, really? The 90s ended a long time ago. The wrinkled shirt screams, I don't own an iron, but it's charming. Shows you care more about the business than your appearance, but suddenly, Vanity raised her hand a minute as she panicked. Her head jerked forward in what appeared like an involuntary action. The veins in her neck bulged as she began to dry heave. Dr. Botgore quickly rushed to her side with a garbage pail to throw weapon. I'm sorry. It's just that tie is an abomination. Botgore looked down at his tie. I like it. Your brother gave it to me. Typical of Morpheus. Dr. Botgore paused for a moment. That was his in. Are you too close? In his dreams, Dr. Botgore smiled. Okay. Enough of the joking. Let's get to why you're here. Tell me about Heather. The cost of beauty. It was a perfect day in perfect sunny California. The perfect grass absorbed the rays from the perfectly clear blue sky. Heather Liston was preparing for work, doing her makeup in a large mirror that spanned across the entirety of her perfect bathroom. A voice came from downstairs. We need to go! It was Stephanie, the now 12-year-old who was cute and great for pictures when she was in the NICU, but now, as she's going through puberty, not so much. Mom! We need to go! Miss Watson keeps us after class if we're late! A tall man with short, styled hair, a slim-fitting suit, and a 5 o'clock shadow hurried down the stairs. The man was Evan Liston, and he was a talent agent for the biggest celebrities. But when he's not hobnobbing with the Hollywood elite, he's a father of two. Mommy's busy getting ready for work. Let me take you in the Porsche today. How's that sound? Dad, that's an old man's car. You're the only one who thinks it's cool. And Mom never made me lunch. Evan reached in his pocket and pulled out a wad of cash clipped in a golden money clip with a globe that says, Money makes the world go round. He pulled out a 50, looked behind him, and whispered, If Mom asks, I gave you a 20, okay? She giggled, okay. She kissed him on the cheek, and they headed for the door. Bye, honey, have a good day. Bye, Mom. They both stared at the empty staircase, awaiting a response. Eventually, they left. It was 8:54, 6 minutes until showtime. Heather was contouring her face to create the peaks and valleys necessary to maintain her brand image. One slip-up, and the party's over. Maintaining appearances online is like heart surgery, except if you screw up heart surgery, you always have another patient. Heather didn't have that luxury. She had to get it right the first time, or be ridiculed forever. The clock read noon, and Evan was 74 floors high above the world in a glass prison masqueraded as an office building. Sitting across from the gargantuan cherrywood table were the Bisley sisters, up-and-coming child actors who were known for their bright blonde hair and childlike innocence. Evan discovered them when they were toddlers working the commercial circuit, and they quickly rose to stardom, starring in the #1 hit show in North America, Two in a Pod. Thanks to the success of his discovery, Evan was able to move up the corporate ladder and went from fetching coffee to paying for the whole order. The show has been successfully running for 4 years and has grown an audience significantly during that time, but the girls are now older and tired of the same old roles. The boardroom was mostly empty, except for the two sisters, their pit bull of a manager, Evan and William. William was a short man with boyish features, medium brown, shaggy hair, and a golden nose ring with a rainbow bead in the middle that, to Will, symbolized his openness. William is a soldier on the front lines of intolerance, and his nose ring? That's his battle flag, a symbol of hope to build morale for those fighting the good fight. William grew up in Mississippi to two fundamentalist Christian parents. William's parents were honest, hard-working, God-fearing people, overall respectable members of the community. Growing up in a small town, everybody talked, so when William came out to his parents at 13, they did everything they could to suppress it, as they called it, the devil inside you. First, William was forced into bi-weekly church meetings where an elderly man with fewer brain cells than teeth would teach the kids to pray the gay away. Despite best efforts, all these meetings really did was reinforce the identity of the children. Seeing others that felt like they did helped the children recognize they weren't alone. What was meant to be a Christian gathering became an LGBT support group. When William's parents found him making out with Bobby, the Marlotte's kid, they grabbed him by the arm and drove him 4 hours into the middle of an empty field, where a group called Defenders of Christ hosted a yearly event where they set up tents and trailers to host conversion therapy sessions. William was held against his will in the middle of nowhere, forced to watch heterosexual pornography, and told he's going to hell for being gay. The children would be forced to write, "Jesus is inside me," thousands of times on the chalkboard as a form of punishment for sin. William would joke with the other captives, "I wish Jesus was inside me." They would all laugh, hiding the pain behind their eyes, as most prisoners of war do. One night, when the guards were asleep, William and a small group of his friends snuck out and hot-wired one of the vans. As they drove off the property, a few counselors chased after them in their tighty-whities. The tires eventually got stuck in the mud, before making a mad dash for the road, spraying mud all over the counselors in pursuit. The boys made it to a small town where they left the car, hopped on a freight train, and never looked back. William hitchhiked for about a year, exchanging sexual favors for rides until he finally made it to Los Angeles, where he finally found a cute man named Orlando, a short Filipino man with a muscular frame and short gray hair. Orlando worked for a talent agency and noticed a new recruit, Evan Liston, was without an assistant. Orlando pulled a few strings, and the next thing William knew, he had an interview with Evan. Within minutes, the two hit it off. Thanks to the help of William, Evan discovered the Bisley sisters, which changed both their lives forever. As a thank you, Evan promoted William to junior agent, hoping one day he will eventually make partner. William took initiative where there was none. Evan knew why he was eager, and respected his hustle, but wished he would tone it down, especially in situations like this. We ran it past legal. They said we can probably negotiate out of the contract if we can promise one more season. But we said, I know, look, you have to see it from their perspective. You're one of the biggest shows in America. The studio doesn't want to give that up. If we can promise them one more season, give them the grand finale, wrap the show up in a nice bow, it will give us more bargaining power. The girl's eyebrows furrowed with the news. Just think about it. Nothing needs to be decided. A woman rushed in the room. It was Evan's secretary, Miss Balston. She was an older lady with no-nonsense attitude. She had gray hair in a tight bun. Glasses hung around her neck on a string of pearls, and an ivory cashmere cardigan with black buttons. A tough woman who's seen it all. She's worked here long before Evan, and will probably be here the day the building is demolished. Something about her no-nonsense attitude was comforting to Evan. She reminded him of the mother he never had. Evan was born in a compound in Colorado, a result of two hippies having a fun night with no protection. He never met his father, and his mother didn't see a problem with that. She was a free spirit and felt everyone was entitled to freedom of choice, even if that means permanently scarring her young son. When he moved to Los Angeles, his mother disapproved. "They're all blinded by money. You don't want that life." He very much wanted that life. Growing up poor, watching his mom sleep with anyone who smelled like grass or had a van was a constant reminder that if you don't build a path for yourself, the world will build one for you. Shortly after his relocation, Evan got a job as an assistant to the assistant at Goldcap, the biggest talent agency in North America. He mostly did coffee runs, but it gave him the opportunity to be in the same room as big Hollywood players. One day, Burt Reynolds was scheduled to meet with Arthur Gold, one of the founders of Goldcap. If they could snag the biggest movie star of his time, it would be a huge power move. To make everything perfect, Arthur's assistant asked Evan to grab 6 coffees and 1 special request latte for Mr. Reynolds. Evan stumbled into the room, coffees balanced in a double-stacked tray, trying not to spill a single drop. When he handed out the coffee, the lid of the latte popped off, spilling boiled milk all over Mr. Reynolds' arms. Arthur chewed him out in front of everyone. After that day, no one spoke to Evan, except when giving their coffee order. One day, while eating lunch alone, a woman with long brown hair, sprinkled with streaks of gray, approached him. She wore glasses on a pearl string that hung around her chest. "Mind if I sit here?" Evan looked up, curious if maybe someone didn't recognize him. Surely if they did, they wouldn't be speaking to him. "Sure." The woman sat down. They said nothing the rest of the break, but Evan never forgot how Miss Balston made him feel. For the first time in his life, he felt truly cared for. When Miss Balston rushed in, she looked panicked. "What is it?" asked Evan. "It's Heather. She called multiple times. She says it's an emergency." Evan looked at the girls, whose eyes seemed glazed over by all this business talk. "What do you ladies say we call it for today? Read the offer, let me know your thoughts. Chat soon?" For the first time all day, the girls smiled. Evan rushed out the door and ran to his office, grabbing the phone, sitting off the hook. It was Heather. She was in tears. "What's wrong? Is Stephanie okay?" "They said I looked old." "What?" "They said I looked old." Evan collapsed in his chair.